Good evening, Gateway Life Groups. I hope you're all doing well. So this evening, I just want to take a chance to reflect on the sermon from Sunday and reflect on how we're doing as a community as we take these steps towards next Sunday when physical gatherings in St. Mark's will start in this new format. So let me recap what I said so far. So the first half of the sermon, I was talking really about this vision and drawing out 3 headlines of reasons for why we've come to the decision to try this as an eldership, why we think it's really important. So I talked about the practical and emotional reasons. It's good to remember, isn't it, that the things that are practical challenges for you or emotional worries for you will be different to other people. And so we really need to try and put one another first as we think about other people having different practical and emotional challenges to each other. Nonetheless, we think this is the best way forward to meet those practical and emotional challenges. I talked about the prophetic and missional reasons why we've made this, that we don't think that this is just a good idea. We think this is a God idea. This is something we have prayed and fasted about. This is something we felt God speak to us in numerous ways at numerous times. And so we want to go forward in a way that allows the church to shine for the area of Woodhouse, but also for us in our lives, for our local communities, that we can begin to think about reaching out again. And then thirdly, I talked about some spiritual and discipleship reasons where it's really important to be together in order to grow and be accountable and have body ministry and those sort of things. Again, if you are struggling and didn't get a chance to come to the Q&A on Sunday, please do try to talk to us. Talk by all means to your life group leaders or cluster leader or eldership team. Contact us. Don't be struggling on your own. Let's make sure we're continuing to communicate and work out together the challenges so that these gatherings can be adapted to meet the needs of everyone that is coming. So that was a kind of recap. And then the second part, I talked about the task ahead, the next 6 months, where we're asking you to try this. Give it a go. Don't condemn this idea before you've even tried it. Let's come along. Let's give it a go and maybe adapt things as we go. But as part of this next 6 months, trying this new model of doing church, we are going to need to weigh it. We're going to need to try and discern together, is God in this? Is this something that is for the long term for us as a church? So I talked about the gold test, which is discernment, the Greek word dokimazo, meaning about looking for the good. That's something that can be challenging, especially at a time like now, but can we look for the good? The story test, can we lay this way of doing church alongside our Christian story? And the fruit test, can we look for the fruit of the Spirit? So let's talk a little bit more about the gold test. And I would love you in a moment to pause this and to get into small groups, probably 3 or 4 breakout rooms or however you guys want to do it, and talk about what are the potential opportunities in this model of doing church. Now, maybe you have some reticence, maybe you have concerns, but I really want to ask you to do this biblical discernment now, which is look for what could be the opportunities. Try and overcome your worries just for a moment and think, what good things could there be in this way of doing church? What hopes have you got about what this model could lead to? What hopes do you have? So let's try and look for gold for a few minutes. You might want to discuss that in small groups and then feedback to the group. I'll let your group leaders decide how you do that. So why don't you pause now and have a go at that? Second thing I'd love us to look at is the fruit test. Why don't you turn in your Bibles to Galatians 5, verses 19 to 23. So this is a section about the fruit of the Spirit. Paul writing to the churches in Galatia about the fruit of the Spirit. And it talks about the bad fruit, if you like, what he calls the fruit of the flesh at the start. And then it talks about the fruit of the Spirit. So I want you to consider again in groups, what are the works of the flesh that are mentioned here that we need to try and avoid in these next couple of weeks and months? Are there things here that are mentioned that could be easy to slip into that are actually bad fruits? and we need to be careful. Are there important ways that stand out to you as you look at these verses, particularly verses 19 and 21? Important ways that stand out for you to avoid, things for you to avoid. So have a chat about that again in groups, maybe 3 and 4. And you may then want to come back together, or you may want to just keep that to yourselves. But it's good to have a think about what to avoid as we move forward. So again, why don't you pause, and then you can unpause in a moment. Finally, then, I'd love us to take a chance to pray. And again, I'll leave this to life group leaders, whether this is good to do in small groups or whether you want to pray all together. What can we be praying for? Well, can I urge you to pray for people who have different challenges or anxieties for you? For example, if you are part of a family that are coming together and you have particular challenges, why don't you try to pray for those who are coming alone? Or for those who are local, or those who have different fears to you. Let's try and pray for people who have different concerns. Let's try and pray that nobody in Gateway is left out of this move to a different model, that we don't lose anyone in this, that everyone can come along and give it a go. And why don't you be praying for wisdom for those who are leading, particularly the new cluster group leaders, if you know who they are. If not, just pray for wisdom for those who are leading us in this time. And finally, I would love it if you could ask God, as you pray, for prophetic words, encouragement, scriptures for us as a church or for individuals that can help us as we move forward. And if you get those tonight, why don't you email them to us, pass them to your group leaders, get them to us, because we all need encouragement as we go forwards. I hope you found that helpful tonight. I'm excited and a little bit scared about the coming weeks, but it's going to be a great adventure together. And we would just say again, let's go on this adventure together. Let's give it a go and let's support one another. Okay, God bless. Good night.